y'all, it's Chris with Rockin Farm, and I just wanted to revisit kind of an old topic because it's that time of year, and quite frankly, quite a few people are asking some questions and commenting on a couple of older videos, but I know not everybody goes back to watch older videos. So the question, I guess, is how do you turn all of this into these, and is it worth the time and effort to do so? Y'all, I gotta say the answer to both questions is yes. So as I said, I've had a few people making comments on some of my older videos. I'm not actually going to teach you how to build these in this particular video. I'll point out a couple of things that I still like about them, and I'll show you some of their flaws and things that maybe need to be corrected. But if you really want to know how to build these raised beds out of pallets and used and found materials, I'm going to link the video where I originally showed people how to build these into the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Now, to answer the first question about is it worth it? Well, y'all, take a look at the beds. One of the things that I really enjoy about these particular beds is that I get tons of compliments on them. The differences in the wood, the different kinds of little paints and old materials that end up having all the different colorations, they make for a very, very attractive bed. I don't have anybody who has ever looked at these and said, man, those things are just hideous and ugly and I would never have that in my garden. They're good looking beds. And y'all, all the materials were free with a few exceptions. In the early days of building these, I was buying the occasional 2x4, but by and large, the vast majority of the 2x4s that are in this are either from the pallets themselves or the 2x4s were also found materials. Now, I know that finding 2x4s anymore that nobody wants and they're just willing to toss to you, it's getting less and less likely. It's not happening quite as much anymore because lumber's gotten really expensive and people are realizing that even if it's only a 4-foot piece, you should probably hold on to it. But I also do have several beds that are built out of nothing but pallets. No structural lumber in them whatsoever. I use the 2x4 portion of the pallet that the skids are attached to as a 4-foot 2x4 basically, and then you just need more connection points, and I'll show you what I mean by that. You see, even in these 16-foot beds here, these are 8-foot 2x4s. So at the gap portion, I just use some sort of either a pallet skid or in some cases another 2x4 to attach the two pieces together. And you know, I mean, you can get a little bit of a bow in there, but you can also do things like put a piece of rebar down on the side to keep that bow from happening. But regardless, I've got this point where it's attached anyhow because I wasn't going out and buying 16-foot 2x4s. So then we look at a bed like this, and this bed is built 100% out of pallets. You can see that all of the pieces that make up the framing are the 2x4 portion of the pallet. I'm not 100% sure of what you call that. I call the planks skids, but I'm not sure what you call the portion that you attach the skids to. But it just means that I have more attachment points. So I had to stiffen it up there. And then I had to stiffen it up a few feet later. And there's a little section where it's stiffened up here. But this entire, I believe this is a 20-foot long bed, is built 100% out of nothing but pallets. It is going on its 3rd season and it's still holding strong. So if you build them out of completely found materials, what expenses do you have? Well, you've got the screws and or the brads that you attach it with. Most of my beds are built with 1.5-inch long, air gun nailing brads. And that seems to hold all the skids on just fine, with a few exceptions, because I did improve upon my design slightly. This asparagus bed here is going on its 4th season, and as you can see, we do have a couple of the rungs that popped out, and it looks like at least one of them popped out because it was rotting. Now, one of the things that I noticed about this bed is that I see no evidence of me having used wood glue on this particular bed. And that is a design improvement that I added to my later beds. Run a bead of wood glue down it, smooth it out, and then lay out my pallets and put them all together. And actually in the video that you all saw the link to earlier, you'll see me doing that. Now, the beds that I have built that are 3 seasons old that don't have that, well, there's a few more skids that are popping off. But the nice part about it is that when I see one that has popped off, I reattach it with a screw. So while I don't use screws in the initial construction, I come back a little bit later and add a screw here and add a screw there, and it really keeps the cost down, because if it's gonna be held together by the brads and it's going to be able to be strong enough and sturdy enough, I can save money by using the brads and not using screws, and then just using screws for repairs. This bed over here is going on its 4th season, and you can see I've got some rot, right? I've got a few pieces that are rotten, but again, not the end of the world. Y'all, I'll come back in, I'll pop those off, I'll dig out the bottom here a little bit, I'll throw a few new ones in, screw them on, and the bed is gonna be good for another year at least. So is it worth it? Well, y'all, I mean, if I built these out of all brand new pressure treated lumber, how many seasons would I get out of them? These are going on a 4th season. With a few minor repairs, I'm gonna get a 5th season. With a few more minor repairs, I'll probably get a 6th season. Y'all, I really think that you can kind of keep these things going. And here's the big thing. We're keeping them going for pretty much free. I mean, some wood glue, a few screws, a few brads. The lumber is where the expense is, and I don't have that expense. So is it worth it to build these beds out of found materials? I say yes. Now, as far as sourcing pallets goes, I understand it can get a little bit tough. Just keep in mind that even if you're paying 50 cents or a dollar for a pallet, you're getting a lot of wood out of a pallet, and generally speaking, it's fairly high quality lumber. Sourcing pallets as far as safety goes, that's a whole nother issue. I would ask you to do your research. I get most of my pallets from places like feed stores, where I know that it was hay and or feed that was stored on the pallet and not fertilizer and chemicals, etc. So 99% of my pallets come from like horse owners who buy pallets of alfalfa at a time, or from chicken owners that buy pallets of feed at a time. I know those are going to be good pallets that were sourced ethically for the purpose of putting feed on them for animals. And then I can also take a look at the little stamps that are on pallets to research to ensure that what I think I already know is actually true. So if you want to know how to build these beds, y'all, well, go back and watch that video that I posted just a little bit earlier in this video. And if you like the flexibility of being able to do a 4x4, a 3x10, a 4x16, 2 3x8s, you're starting to get my point. You can build these to whatever size you want to fit in your garden. But if you like that flexibility and you like this look, well, I mean, whether it's new materials or not, you got to build it. So why not get the materials for free? So is it worth it? Well, you tell me if you think it's worth it. I think I've got quite a bit of garden space here, y'all. If you have any questions or comments about these particular raised beds, if you want some more information on how you start the conversations for getting free materials, feel free to either shoot me an email at rockin8farm@gmail.com or drop it down in the comment section, because I'd love to talk to you about it, y'all. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you will be notified anytime that we have a new video coming out. My wife is helping me revamp and rework the website, so go check that out, rockin8farm.com. And until I see y'all again, this has been Chris with Rockin8 Farm. Be happy, live healthy.